work in Maya. Let's go ahead, open Maya, open the file, and work on the set fitting.
Then the next thing I need to do is click on the film gate, so I'll be able to see the footage. And if I need, I can also click on the grid in order to see the grid throughout. And now I'm ready to start with the set fitting. So going into the perspective view and clicking on the space bars and going into the quad view, you want to make sure to grab this division line and have enough space for both the camera viewfinder and the perspective view. So we'll be able to have the outmost view on the camera while we're working in the perspective view. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a plane and I can stretch that plane and trying to build a street out of it. Now I'm going to take my grouped camera and I'm going to put it in a display layer by clicking on Add Selected Objects to a new display layer. And I'm going to double click on this layer and I'm going to give it a bright color so I'll be able to see it through the footage. I think I'm going to change the color from index to RGB and I'll be able to set up a color, a bright color, so I'll be able to see the trackers properly on the footage. We'll get this bright orange. Click Save. So I'm going to take my grouped camera and I'm going to change its pivot point by holding D on the keyboard and V, and I'm going to change it to one of these trackers that actually represent the edge of the sidewalk over there. And I'll be able to take my group now, holding V on the keyboard, and I'm going to snap the whole group to the vertex points on the corner of this piece of geometry. Now I need to make sure that I have the right perspective, and it seems that my perspective is a bit off. So I'm going to take my group through the outliner. I'm going to turn off the grid for now, and I'll be able to take my rotation tool and just rotate it a bit. First of all on the Y, and now I can start rotating a bit on the X and the Z. And I can take the whole group and also move it a little bit with the translation tool around the edge here. And by scrubbing through the timeline, I'm making sure that my geometry stays in place. And as you can see, the zoom is working pretty well when it comes to the geometry and the rest of the footage. So I also clicked on the cube under the polygons shelf in order to create this cube. And I'm going to move it to the back and to this side in order to represent that house we have over here. It's going to be this portion of the house. I just move it back a bit more and on the Z. And as a matter of fact, we can change the pivot point of that cube to this corner and then snap it to that little tracker we have over there. But that tracker is to the edge of the roof that holds also the rain gutters. So we can take the cube and just push it a little bit to the left and then take our scale tool and scale it this way and a bit back. And now if I right click on the cube and select face, I'm going to select this face, click on the extrude, and I can push it up to form part of the roof. And if I take a look at that cube and we switch our panels to the orthographic top, we can zoom in a little bit and take our multi-cut tool, holding shift on the keyboard, and start slicing it across. And that will give us an edge here. And now to select these two edges and just push them down to form part of the roof. Now I want again to point out whatever changes I did in order to match the perspective were made to the rotation and a little bit of translation as well as the scale to the grouped camera. I haven't touched the geometry because the geometry needs to be flushed on the ground plane. So the next step would be to take my plane and the cube, middle mouse button click and drag into the grouped camera and save this file as a brand new file that can be brought into the model that was supplied to us by the modeling department.
So in Maya, we saw how to work with the set fitting, and we also checked the zoom to make sure that our geometry sticks throughout the footage. Now we're ready for the layout process.